Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Awaken to Your Soul Path. I am your host, Barbara, and today I am joined by the wonderful Gloria Grace Rand. And we are going to be talking about light language one-on-one, channeling divine energy. And I've been looking forward to this topic, so I'm very happy that you're here, Gloria, because it has tremendously fascinated me. I've heard it from multiple sources. A part of me thinks, ooh, I wish I could speak it, but I
Mhm.
can't. And I've been hearing all of these things about it, which I would love to dive into and see if we can clear something up, because I know there are more people out there that have heard about it, but it's still very much mysterious.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, it's still not as mainstream as, say, like Reiki has become,
Yeah.
but because they're even doing Reiki in hospitals now. But I do find that more and more people are starting to uh, be aware of it, and so I love this subject, and I really am looking forward to diving in and sharing with your audience about it. So where should we start? Should we start with sort of a definition about it,
Well,
or
that
how
could
I came into it, or what do you think?
Well, you mentioned Reiki, right? So it could indeed be good to sort of give a definition of light language. And Reiki, I know, is something that can be taught. You can do the initiations, and you can free
Mhm.
yourself, and then you can learn to work with the energy. I have all my Reiki levels, so I know that from
Mhm.
a personal experience.
Yeah.
But I have heard stories that light language just sort of needs to be unlocked within you, and that is a process that you cannot learn or cannot push. So I would like to explore that also with you. So maybe indeed start with,
Start with
what
that.
is light
What
language?
is light language? Okay. Well, I'm going to go with the simple term first, which is that light language is the language of love. It's energy, and at its core, that's what it is. Now, it obviously is more involved than that. And light language is something that can be spoken, it can be sung, it can also be written. I don't write it, but there are lots of people who will write symbols that are infused with energy. And so it really is, it's a multi dimensional language that comes from angels, it comes from galactic beings, it just is, I guess it's the fifth dimension probably and beyond, but it's something that comes through. For me, I do speak it, I do sing it, I actually can even do like sign language a bit with it as well. And it's something that it's a very healing modality. So when I'm speaking it and we're toning it, some people call it toning. For me, it's singing. It especially when I do that, it really feels like sometimes I'm really connected with the angelic realms, because the voice that comes out of me, I love to sing and I have a decent voice, but I can tell the difference when I'm just singing a song or when I'm channeling, because it's much richer and fuller, and it's really is containing uh, codes that are something that it speaks to your heart, it speaks to your soul. It's not something that your brain, our lovely logical brains, can understand, but it doesn't matter, because again, it's something that speaks deep within, and it can have an actual effect even on our DNA. Um, so we're in an amazing time right now where things are shifting. I mean, we're I think our humanity is going to be really going through a radical shift in just how
Yes.
functioning. What is it? 90% of our DNA, they call this junk DNA, which is a silly name. It's just that people don't know what it's for right now.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean it doesn't have a purpose, because I
No.
believe that we came here for a reason, and that our creator, now, however you want to refer to that, um, wouldn't have just filled us up with junk. I mean, my mom used to say God didn't make junk. And it's
No,
like,
but the
yeah.
Western world also thinks that you can remove organs like the gallbladder because it serves no purpose. While with, I'm a licensed acupuncturist, we did Chinese medicine. We learned that the gallbladder serves a very important function, and when
Mhm,
removed, it has serious consequences for
mhm,
people that are not being acknowledged in the Western world. So,
mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a real it's an amazing energy transmission. I mean, that's what it is. It's really it's energy because we are all energy beings as
Mhm.
well, so we're going to respond to sound frequencies. In fact, uh, there have been studies and now where scientific studies have explored just how much that the human body does respond to sound.
Yes.
There's, singing bowls or things like that. And it's an amazing. So this is another way of being able to do that. And you mentioned that you feel that it, or at least that you've heard that it's something that needs to be, it's not necessarily something that you can be taught, that you have to be maybe more
They told me
called
it's
to
something
do it or
that activates.
something. Yeah, and my well, number one, a couple things is number one is that I was told that this is the language that we spoke before we came into these bodies, and it's the language we'll speak when we're out of these bodies. And I believe is that if you have a strong intention to be able to be a light language channel, that you will be able to do it. Now, you might not do it right now, but just having that intention, that's, half the battle right there. So I
Mhm.
think you can become, like I said, and maybe it's not your um, path to be a vocal channel. Maybe it's to write. And
Mhm.
so uh, yeah, so I would say if you feel drawn to it, there's probably a reason, number one, and you should explore it because there's lots of different resources out there that you can learn about it. I know when I first learned about it, and especially when I started channeling it myself, I immediately went to Google and started like, okay, I need to find out what is this? I need to know
Yeah.
more. I need to know more.
So is it then comparable to Esther Hicks channeling Abraham?
Well, yeah, I suppose it is in a way, because it is allowing this other type of energy to come through. I'm just not speaking in English, but I've had people say that it sounds Native American, or it sounds Asian, or it sounds, like a shaman, or it sounds Hawaiian. One time I was channeling with a client, and to my ears, it sounded Latin. It
Mhm.
reminded me of when I grew up in the Catholic Church. And so, and I used to sing in the choir, and we would sing, sing songs in Latin. And that's
Yeah.
what it reminded me of. What believe and is that the language comes through that would be most, I guess that maybe that would be most resonant. There we go. That's a word I'm looking for. That would resonate with you. And I think for that particular person, that probably was something that might have been in her, in her awareness, in her history,
Mhm.
genetic makeup or something, and that was going to be the best way for her to be able to receive that information and to
Mhm.
have it come through that way. So it's so cool. And maybe if you'll allow, maybe before this episode is over, I would be honored to be able to share some with your audience as
I
well.
would love that because I remember clearly the first time I heard it. It was with Regan Hillier. So she works with Mind Valley, and that's how I came into
Mhm,
contact with it. And she is rather well known in her light
mhm,
language abilities. And that was the first time that I heard it in a course, a manifestation course that she is
mhm,
providing for Mind Valley, where she
mhm,
channels light language to unlock your manifestation and
mhm.
your abundance, basically. And I
Right.
remember when I heard it the first time, it's very melodic. It's
Mhm,
very um upbeat, positive energy, but it's
Mhm.
also like I have no clue what I'm listening to, but it sounds incredibly intriguing, kind of.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's amazing the different experiences that people will have, because some people just find that it's just a very relaxing thing to listen to, and it's just they just kind of zone out a little bit. I had one client when I was doing some one-on-one sessions with. She's a very attuned person. I mean, she does a lot of breath work and other modalities, I think. And so she told me afterwards, she said, it was like being at the United Nations, because she was able to actually translate it as it was coming through. And which is something interesting, because there are a lot of people, you'll go onto YouTube and see people doing light language, and they'll say specifically that they are channeling from Pleiadians, or they're channeling Syrians or whatever, and they can translate everything. Um, for me, and I've also heard some other well-known light language channelers as well say, is that I don't get a word for word translation. I do not know what I'm saying. I can set an intention and ask for sort of themes to come through. And sometimes I will just actually, even without setting an intention, I will sort of feel that as I'm doing it with a client. But it doesn't matter, because again, it's not really for my logical, lovely brain to understand.
No,
That's not what it's
the
for.
vibration of the
It's the
language, right?
vibration. Exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's most important. And that's what I'm, happy to be able to facilitate that coming through. And I don't need to know specifically what it means. And I don't know specifically where it comes from. I can tell sometimes, and again, this is, whatever my bias, but it will sometimes sound, like I said, maybe more angelic. Sometimes I've had it, not with people. When I'm doing this in the privacy of my own home, I've had some major uh, shift communication come through, that it's like, ooh, yeah, that really did seem like it came from a galaxy, far,
Mhm,
far away, as
mhm.
they say, because it was like, whoa, that was really different. Um, but
Is
it
it then
has.
also the language of the soul? Sorry that I
Yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, no, that's fine. No,
Yeah,
yes,
because you
yes,
said in the
exactly.
beginning that it's the language that all of us spoke with each
Right.
other. So that means that part of us knows this language, and that probably the human side of us has forgotten, which
Yeah.
then also means that we can tap into it if
Yeah.
we open ourselves. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I believe. And I think also, and I think when I was doing a presentation about this, and a few years ago, and it's like I was still fairly new to it, and I'm like, sure, I can get information off the internet, but I'm like, I need to know. So I was like, got quiet, and it's like, okay, if you're giving me this information, I need to know specifically. I need some more details for me, not just something that I can read somewhere else. Uh, and so, I was curious about why it does sound different, and it's because we do come from different places, or around the globe, and then we've maybe lived, in different incarnations in different places, and so it it kind of will, just like we speak different languages here
I was
on
just going to
Earth,
say, it's
yeah.
comparable
So
to on Earth, where we speak Russian and Chinese and English
yeah,
and
exactly.
Spanish and all of these
Right.
languages.
Right. Yeah. So it's just different. It's just different languages in that respect as well, or even different, what do they call it? Different, oh, I can't think of the word.
Frequency?
Like in the United States, where you have people with a Southern accent, and, and
Oh,
other,
dialect.
dialects. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Right. Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Oh, that is very interesting. And then part of what we were talking about was also that it is channeling divine energy. How does that then fit into what we've been talking about?
Well, it's again, so this is my belief, is that we are all, number one, we are all part of one great family. We are created by, God,
What's
the
his name?
universe, whatever
Yeah,
you want to call it. But
exactly.
but I love the analogy of that, this creator is sort of like a tree, and then we are all the branches,
Mhm.
or the leaves or what have you. And so I just lost the point of where I was going with this. So ask me the question again, because I just totally
Divine
got off.
energy was the
Oh,
thing.
divine energy. There we go. Yes. So so because of that, so again, when you're connecting with whatever energy is coming through, whatever this language is, it ultimately, no matter where you come from, whether you are from, Sirius or the Pleiades or Arcturus, or, whatever, we're still all one big family. We are all still connected to
Yes.
some sort of divine energy,
Hmm.
and so that's ultimately what it is. It again,
Source
it may
energy.
come through in different flavors, but that at its core, that's what it is. So it is
Mhm.
it is a divine energy, and it's that divine energy of love. That's why I say it's ultimately, because I
Yes, and
again
because
believe
it's and
God is
source
love, and that's
energy,
yeah,
and source energy is also love.
right.
So how does it then come to be that some people unlock their light language speaking abilities while other people don't?
Well, I think it's probably part of how you decided that what you were going to do when you came to this planet, before our souls incarnated. And I'll just share briefly my how it came to be for me was
Yeah.
that I well, number one, I've been meditating for about 15 years, um and then I had gone through some my sister passed away at the end of 2016, and I was sort of kind of lost for a little bit and trying to figure out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do in my business. And as I mentioned, I used to sing in the choir. I loved singing when I was a kid. It was my favorite thing to do when I would go to Girl Scout camp. That's what I loved to do, sing around the campfire. So I kept sort of seeing signs that music was going to come back into my life in some way, because I wasn't going to church anymore, wasn't in the choir. And I was at a business conference, and I'm sitting at a table with a bunch of women, and this other woman got up. Her name was Laura J. And she started telling her story about how she'd had a business, but she'd gone through a divorce and all this stuff. And then she remembered as a child speaking this language of angels. And she started seeing if she could do it again. And I guess she started. And then she demonstrated for us. She started channeling. And I'm sitting at this table, and all of a sudden, tears are running down my face. And I'm like, what is going on? This,
What's happening
okay,
here?
something about this. My soul is really resonating with this. This is interesting. I need to go talk to this woman afterwards. And so I signed up. She was offering kind of a monthly sessions where you would listen to her channel. And so I did that for a while, never thinking that I would do this myself. And it took probably about maybe 9 months later, I actually was on Facebook, and I saw an old coach of mine, and he was channeling light language. And I was like, huh, well, that's interesting. Somebody else now. And so I wound up having had a Zoom session with him. And when I was telling him about this, he said, well, Gloria, you could do this too. And so he invited me to try. I did a little bit and kind of felt weird. He says, you know what? Do it tomorrow. Meditate first, and then set the intention to have, message that comes through that's going to be for your soul's highest good. So I did that the next morning after my husband went to work, because he would have thought I was totally weird. And it was like you just turned on a faucet, and all of a sudden this language started coming through. And I was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. And so I've been doing it ever since. And so I guess, it's like I said, I think it's partly your intention, partly maybe you are called to do it. And if you're not, it may be that your gifts lie elsewhere, and that's okay
Mm.
too. So
Yes, I'm learning more and more that it's part of your soul purpose, the thing that you came here to do, and
Mhm.
you cannot force things that are not meant for your specific path.
Right. Yeah. That's the true. Yeah, absolutely.
And also, I have one of the most difficult spiritual paths to walk, and that means that I had to go through a lot of different things and I had to learn a lot of lessons. And those then probably are more important
Mm.
than learning something like this for this moment. And it might be that you learn it later on, might be that you don't learn it later on. I think
Right.
it very much has to do with your design.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. And it could be something that it could be just you take the time to just listen to it. And I think also sometimes that will help as well. It's just you either listen to other people do it or you have maybe a one-on-one session with someone, and because it'll help to release uh, things that are blocked, stuck energy, and to be able to and even release some of the things that you've been holding on to, because that's what I've done, a lot of self-work on
Mm,
myself, and like when I
yeah.
feel stuck or frustrated, and like it's like I need some help, I know I've got to heal some family karma. It's like, can you release some of this with me? And it definitely has helped. And so it might help you to be able to then discover maybe there's some other, it might point you in a direction, something you would have never thought of
Hmm.
until you started, listening to it. So
Yes.
yeah.
That is very true. Yeah, I know that I've listened to it multiple times and I like listening to it. It brings me in a very calm, very deep, very meditative state.
Hmm.
I have set the intention of wanting to learn, but it hasn't happened yet. So I've also let it go and trust that if it is for me, it will happen when it happens. So people out there that wants to learn light language, who are doing the meditation, setting the intention, and it's still not happening for you, you're not doing anything wrong per se. It might just not be your time
Yeah,
or your
that's true.
path, right?
Exactly. And I think the other thing too is I don't know that because I mean, I see people out there, teaching light language. I don't know
Yeah.
that it's really something that can be taught or necessarily learned. Again, for me, what I did, it was, I just kind of like opened my mouth and went kind of like, and then
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, and the first time I was like, not so much, but then the second time, I do think that meditating first and really taking that time to connect to your higher self is
Mhm,
is a good way to then attempt
mhm.
to do it.
Yeah,
And then just ask, and because what I'll do is I'll just say, I invite, I say, angels, archangels, galactic beings, elementals, please share with me a message of light and love that's going to be for my soul's highest good and the highest good of all concerned. And
beautiful.
I think the first time I did, I just kind of went like, and then it was, yeah, and then stuff started to come through. So
Mhm.
yeah, so
Yeah.
give it a try. You never know.
I think that that is what I meant with what it needs to be activated, right? It's not something that you can teach. I don't believe it is something you can teach. Like you, I
Yeah,
think it's an innate ability that's
yeah,
dormant, and that's the unlocking part, right? From
yeah,
getting it
yeah.
from being a dormant ability to an active ability.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And it was, I think also, hearing it, through someone else, couple different people. I mean, especially that first time where it was like,
Yeah,
whoa. It
that
was
is a
like,
very good point. Maybe
yeah,
I haven't heard my version of light language yet.
that's true. Yeah,
My
exactly.
dialect could
Yeah,
also
right,
be.
right. Yes, so it
Yeah,
has, yeah, you haven't connected yet. So
yeah.
that, who knows? Maybe
Uh,
today.
exactly. And there are also a lot of people that claim, and maybe they're right, but I'm being cautious, claim that it has a hugely transformative effect on your life.
Hmm.
What are your experiences with that?
Well, I I will just say that it has been one of the tools that I've used in my spiritual tool belt that has definitely helped me tremendously. I've been able to start being more confident in myself to be able to even do this and talk about it and like and I have my own podcast, and I will, when I do solo episodes, I actually end before the podcast is over, I share light language on there. um so it's I've also worked with clients who, I've had one client who has a lot of health problems, and she said afterwards, I don't know for sure that it was the light language, Gloria, because she also does a lot of meditating and things. She says, but I
Mm,
definitely felt better, the next couple of days afterwards. And
mhm.
so, I think with a lot of things, it's the mindset that you go into it with, because if you're going to say this
Yes.
isn't going to work, then it's not going to do anything for you. But if you're open-minded, open-hearted in particular,
Mhm.
and just willing to see what happens, then it very well can have a tremendous effect on your physical body, your emotions, your mental body, because again, it is energy. And
Mhm.
so it is, our bodies will resonate with that. And if, like I say, unless you're, totally going to shut it down, then give it the opportunity to
Yeah.
see if it can't move something in you to help you release what's keeping you from the life that you want to live.
Yes, I love it, and it resonated with me. It reminded me of something that we learned during my acupuncture education. One
Mhm.
of the things that they taught us was medicine is intention.
Mm.
There
Mm.
is one a very old Chinese acupuncturist who treats everything, every single disease with only one acupuncture point. There
Oh,
are
wow.
almost 400.
Yeah.
And he treats everything with the kidney 3 point, which is located on your inner ankle, right behind the malleosus, right in front of the tendon, in the
Mm.
soft indentation there. And he
Okay.
says, I do this because I know how everything is connected.
Mm.
So from one starting point, I know how to follow the maze and how to
Right.
go from one system to the next system to deliver my healing intention where
Mm-hmm.
it needs to arrive. And
Mm.
by visualizing the path
Mhm.
that it takes, I
Yeah.
am able to heal with just this single point. And in
Yeah.
the end, right, we are made out of 90, 95% water. And
Mm-hmm.
water is a guiding mechanism that guides
Right. Yeah.
vibration, that guides energy.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever something is spoken, and it doesn't really matter if it's English or Spanish or light language, everything
Right.
has a vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And the intention in your voice
Mm-hmm.
comes through it.
Right.
I forgot his name. He's also, I think, a Chinese or a Japanese man who did the experiments with water,
The water. Right.
the
Yes.
anger, and then with the
Yes.
love, and
Mm-hmm.
then create crystals or ice crystals out
Yes.
of them, where when
Right.
it came from love they were gorgeous, and when it came from
Mm-hmm.
anger they were hideous.
Right. Yeah,
That's the
exactly. It's
tonality
mm-hmm.
of the voice. So I indeed believe that whatever is spoken is a vibration, is
Yes.
an energy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And and so that's why I love this, and I'm so grateful that I was given this gift to share,
Mhm,
and to use it for myself, because again, I've gone through a lot of stuff as well, and I'm still on that journey, and
mhm.
so anything that I find that can help me, I'm so grateful for, and so that's why I do it frequently for myself, and I'll
I
do
love
it.
that you can also use it for yourself, which of course,
Yeah.
now that I think about it, why wouldn't you be able to use it for yourself? Because that's
Right.
I can do a lot of different healing modalities, and most of them I
Mhm.
learned because I wanted to use them for myself. And I
Exactly.
also
Yeah.
use them with clients, or I
Right.
sometimes I combine certain things into something
Mhm.
completely new,
Yes.
depending on what is necessary in order
Mhm.
to to help people move past something. So
Right.
I love it, and I love your story. So thank you so much for sharing that. And
Yeah.
um, if there is something that comes through that you want to channel when it comes to light language towards the audience, then I would feel very, very blessed.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So I will say that if you're listening to this somewhere where you're driving, you might want to pause this and come back to it later because, it's good to be able to, what I always say is to just be able to just take a breath, relax, close your eyes, set an intention that the message that you are going to receive will be for your soul's highest interest, because that's definitely what I am I am setting that intention as well. So,
I love it. Yes, it's basically surrendering to it and let it
mhm.
show over you, which works a lot better if you don't have to pay attention to traffic.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay. Hmm. この中やどこがそこがこやのかよへかあこかよの声かえなやんのくこかよとあとえとえはそやのかはなかやとくako kahoe, ano koe ko, haoe ka noe, kohoe ka. Mm,
Beautiful.
mm,
I'm giving people the opportunity to take it in,
mhm,
because that's also important, right? To just breathe
mhm.
it in and be with it.
Yes. Yeah. Oh.
I love this one. This one reminded me of Indian chanting,
Mm, mhm.
Native American Indian chanting.
Yeah. Yeah.
India, Indian.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, can I share one quick funny thing? It was that
Right?
I was channeling, I think it was last week actually, in my living room, and it got quite, it was a little intensive channeling, and then all of a sudden my cat jumped up on my chest and had his face in my face. Like, what are you talking about? And it just surprised me so much that it was just like, but animals resonate with it too. So evidently it struck a chord with him.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember that, especially right after I had my initiations into Reiki, which is a long time ago. But even now, my animals come ask for healing energy from my hands. They
Mm.
put their head or their body on my hands, and they want to
Yeah.
be held. And
Mm.
another thing that I thought was really awesome actually is that I realized I can speak it because I have spoken something that I didn't recognize as language prior to this meeting already, and I just thought I was making it up. I thought it
Mhm.
was just a
See?
lot of coming out, and I thought you
Yeah,
were just
yeah.
having fun or making it up, but it might be light
Mhm.
language that just didn't recognize as such because I
Right.
heard yours sounds very different from Regan's or from any of the
Mhm.
others that I've heard so far, and I think I'm
Yeah.
comparing it to the that it needs to sound a certain way, maybe.
Yeah, it doesn't. No, because we are all unique people. We all have our unique backgrounds. We have, again, histories, and we also have, this ancestral DNA within us. So yeah, it very well, you absolutely could have been speaking it. You just didn't do it. So now I say set the intention and give it
Sure.
a go.
Exactly. Yeah, as we're talking about this, I realize that it also has to do with trust in yourself.
That's
And
true.
I think
Yeah.
that happened in a period where I was still learning to trust in my gifts and learning to trust
Hmm.
my abilities. I
Yeah.
also come from a background where I had to push my abilities away because
Mm.
for a lot
Yeah.
of different reasons I'm not going
Sure.
into because we don't have
Yeah.
enough time, but
Yeah.
it made me go away from my natural state of being in
Yes.
order to survive. And
Right.
that also disconnects you from your intuition, from your
Mhm.
gifts. And
Oh, yeah.
I can totally see how then some might come back without you even realizing what it is, or, you know,
Mhm.
being so used to voices telling you, oh, don't be so silly, don't act
Right.
like this, just do act normal, then you're already silly enough, or
Right.
like that, that you just think, oh, I'm just making stuff up or something.
Mhm. I know. Yeah, exactly. And and it's funny. I had an older sister, and she used to talk like stuff. I mean, she would call it her language, but it's like, well, Michaela,
Maybe.
you may have been actually doing light language. You just didn't appreciate that that's what it was. But it
Exactly.
very well just that could have been her thing. So
Exactly.
yeah, it's interesting.
Yes. This has been an incredibly interesting conversation. You have really allowed me to look at things in a different light and to explore certain things. So I'm hoping for you, my audience, my listener, it did the same. If so, I would love to hear from you.
Mhm.
Leave something in the comments. We would love to hear your experiences. What happened when you listened to it? Are you already able to speak light language? What is your activation story? How did it start for you? Whatever you want to be sharing, we would love to hear from it, or love to hear from you. But I can also imagine that you might want to connect with Gloria and maybe talk about it, or maybe get a session from her. So, where could people find you, Gloria, and how would you like to be contacted or connected with?
I would say that the best place is I would love it if you are on LinkedIn, you want to search for Gloria Grace Rand and connect with me there and mention that you heard me on this lovely show, and that way I'll know because yeah, I do offer a free introductory light language session, and so if you do contact me on LinkedIn there, I'll be able to give you the link for that. And yeah, I'd love to be able to support you in your spiritual journey. And it's a wonderful, exciting time to be alive. And I'm
Sure.
so help grateful and for people like you, Barbara, that are allowing us to do things like this and be able to share and help others to awaken to their spiritual gifts. So
Thank you.
thank you so much.
I love it. There indeed are people, lots of people who are reaching out to me, and I think I didn't even know that this existed, and I found it on LinkedIn, the business platform of businesses. And
Right, exactly.
did you dare talk about these things? And I think, well, but it's important that we talk
Mhm.
about these things because we are shifting, times are changing, and it's
Yes.
either get on board or get out of the way. And
Mhm.
it's an incredibly confusing time for a lot of people. It's an
Yeah.
incredibly emotional time for a lot
Yeah.
of people. It's also an incredibly taxing time for a lot of people. And, it's important that you find places where you can learn about things that might be going on with you without thinking that you're losing your mind, that you're going crazy, or that you need to be locked up or something, right? Because
Yeah.
let's face it, the biggest part of our society does not believe in things like this and has a very rigid mindset, very rigid
Yeah.
beliefs, and there is not a lot of room for this. And if you are someone who is still working a 9 to 5 job and you are surrounded by many, many of these people, but you feel very different, then it can be very difficult. You can be struggling a lot, and that is a big why behind behind this channel. I really want to reach out to people and make these things normal, and
Mhm.
to talk about them, and to encourage people to talk about it themselves, explore it within themselves, ask questions, develop it. So I will make sure that the links to contact both you and myself will be included in the show notes below this video. So wherever they are, wherever you're catching this video, look for them. The links will be in there. I also offer a free consultation for people who are just interested in finding out what working together could look like, just like Gloria. So don't hesitate to reach out. And if you're already maybe leaving a comment or sharing your story, it would be amazing if you could hit the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel, maybe also the bell thingy, so that you are notified every time a new video comes up. And if you have a story that you would like to share on my TV show, also don't hesitate to reach out and see what could be possible. For today, I thank you so much, Gloria, for being here, for your wisdom, for your beautiful share when it came to light language. And I look forward to the next time that we link up in the future.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it as well, and I just wish everyone out there, love and light.
Love and light, everybody. Have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you again next week with another wonderful guest. Great day for today.